System is running slow. Okay, this is the lecture where I'm going to cover a lot of commands. So sit tight and make sure you are ready to go over all the commands, because many times you have this issue when people say system is running slow, and you are being reported this problem by someone else, either in your group or somewhere else, or actually you find out your own system is running slow. And what are the things that you have to do? Well, first of all, you need to understand the problem, as I discussed that earlier as well. Understanding the problem, where exactly is it coming from? This is the more important thing before you actually start troubleshooting any issue. So you need to find out whether it's processor related, your processor is the one that's running slow, or what exactly the problem is with the disk. Is that the disk is causing the issue? Maybe you have external disk where your system is writing, or you even have your internal disk that probably one of the disks has issues or bad blocks or degraded. You need to find that out. After that, you have to look into the networking too, like file transfer. Like if someone is transferring files from your system to another system or anywhere within the network, you have to find out whether that transfer is causing by processing, a disk issue, or networking itself, or memory that is actually in use. So memory will be the part of the processing as well. Then at the end, we have to know whether it is hardware related. So these are the few things you have to keep in mind, whether it's processing or memory, disk issues, networking issue, or hardware issue. So we have different tools for every one of them. Well, when we are troubleshooting the system slowness issues. So we'll talk about the troubleshooting steps now. The troubleshooting step, the first thing is always check if the right system is reported or you are on the right system. Yes, when someone reports there's a problem with system ABC, and when in fact it's not ABC, it's XYZ. So you need to find out which system they are reporting the problem on, whether it's a database server, it's a system server, or web server. Once you find that out, when you log into that system, of course, always do hostname to check you are on the right system before you start troubleshooting and start digging into it. Because I don't want you to spend like hours and at the end finding out, oh, you are not on the right system. Then we will check the disk space. The disk space, the first thing you'll check is if the disk is full, because most of the time when the disk is full, it will cause problem for everything, whether it's processing, memory, networking, or disk related issues. Everything will be actually end up at the disk. If your disk is 99% full, your memory, your processor cannot do anything at that point, because they cannot write to the disk because it's full. So the commands that we'll learn is about df and du, which we already covered, but I'll quickly cover in this lecture as well. Then about the check the processing and memory, of course. And the commands that we'll cover is top, free, list memory. We'll check the proc memory info that is currently in use. We'll check the virtual memory status. PMAP, which will tell me which process, individual process, is using how much memory, not just the entire system. DMI decode, which will tell me some information about the hardware, what type of hardware I have installed in my or added to my system. List CPU, what's the process is listed, how much is it used, how much is it used by other processing. Also the proc CPU info, you could use the same thing that will give you the same output as list CPU. Now we'll cover about the check and disk issues, and the main command that I always use is iostat, and I have it every 5-second interval. So while you're troubleshooting issue, you could run the iostat and check the disk status, meaning what is going out, what is coming in to your system, and what's the status on that traffic going in and out. Then we'll also cover the LSOF, which stands for list open files. Any files that you are any files that are up and open at this point, that is taking up the memory or CPU. What are those files that are open? We'll find those out. That lsof file, command is also used sometimes when you're trying to unmount a file system and you cannot because it's telling you it's busy, but you don't know how it is busy. Maybe there's a script in it, maybe there's a file in it, in the mounted file system, that is used by another process or another user. So you will use lsof to find that out, and you could kill that process. Then comes to the check networking part. So the networking commands that we will be using is, the main one is the TCP dump. With -I option, I'll use on the interface. I stands for interface. Also at the same time, we'll use lsof to see what is listening, what the port is open, and we'll also grep for the listen, what the files are open, what protocol, what sockets are open, and what is it listening to. We'll use netstat -plnt. And by the way, netstat has been replaced in the newer version of Linux system in CentOS and Red Hat, is replaced with ss as in socket, and same options can be used that were used in netstat. Then there's another command, iftop, which is very useful when you are troubleshooting network related issue. Iftop does not come pre-installed with your operating system. You would have to actually install a couple of packages like yum install apple release, and then you will install yum install iftop. Then this command will be available to you. It's like an add-on command, but it is very useful. That will tell you exactly what is coming in, what is going out, what is being exported, transferred, what is the transfer rate, if it's high, it's low. Then we'll also check the system uptime, because when system is running slow, sometimes what happens, system crashed, and it just, you don't know if it's crashed or not. So you should check whether the system just been booted up or not. So update will give you the time when it has been up and running, and it will also give you the system load every 5, 10, and 15 minutes. That is pretty much the same way the load that you see on the top command. We will also check the logs. Log is one of the main resource that you have, that where you could actually go in and check if there is something wrong with your operating system, kernel, memory, CPU, hardware. Any type of errors that are reported will be reported in your logs. Then there are other things that you could check on the hardware side that are available to your operating system, and if you cannot get to the hardware issue, you need to actually go into the system console to actually find that information out. Then there are other tools that you could install. Again, these tools are not added when you install the operating system. You would have to install these using your yum command, and some of these tools are htop, iotop, pftraffic, ps account. It's related to the user account status. So these are the few commands. If you want to use it, keep them handy, keep them in your mind. So these are the few commands that you need to know for being a good system administrator, how you will use them, how you will run them in the system, and when you get the output, how are you going to read them. So let's log into my Linux machine, and I will show you each one of these commands one by one, and hopefully we'll cover pretty much all of them. So as I said, first check you are on the right system, or the system that is reported to you is the right system. So for that, you always run the host name, which will tell you, oh yes, this is the right host name, because many times in a bigger organization you have servers, 10, 20 servers using the same host name, but they have 01, 02 or incremental numbers at the end. So just make sure you are logged into the right system. Then check the disk space. That's the first thing you should always do, and to run that you do df -h. sorry, df minus h for human readable. So this is going to tell you the file system on the left side, the size, what is used, what is available in percentage, and what is it mounted on. All the temp fs can be ignored because these are the memory file system. You could run df minus h and you could grep minus v to exclude temp fs to exactly see the status. So if you look at my system status, I have a pretty healthy system in terms of disk. The root is at 59%, SD1 is at 1, and the boot is 17. So the system at the disk level, the usage of the disk looks okay. If you see anything here that says 99% or 100% or any threshold that you think has exceeded the normal threshold, then you have to check why it is using that much, and for that you would have to use the command du. When you do du minus a to all and specify which file system that you're trying to look for, you'll see all the file system all the files in the system that will show up here, and it will tell you every file and its size. You could do the minus h for human readable as well, and it will tell you in kilobyte, megabyte, or gigabyte as well. If you want to sort this out, you could do sort in the reverse order, so you will see that the highest usage of file at the top. You will do this and it will sort everything for you, but of course it's gonna go so fast, so you will have to actually more it, so pipe it to more. So it is actually going to the proc, which is just a memory one, so no such file while you're running it. Don't worry about it. You could ignore any of that comes up and says cannot access. But if you are getting an error message that's saying, hey, permission denied, then it definitely means that you are not root. So make sure you are root before you run the du minus a command or h command on any file system, so it could go into every file without getting the permission denied error. Let's clear the screen. Then the next step is about check processing. So let me make this window a little smaller so we could go over the commands one by one. The first one we have top, which we have already covered previously as well. I'm just going to go over quickly again. The first line tells you about the system uptime, how many users are logged in, and the load average in every 5, 10, and 15 minutes. This one tells you total tasks that are running, how many sleeping. This line tells you about the CPU status. This line tells you about the memory status. This line tells you about the swap status. Then coming down, this is the list of every process that you are running in your system. Mostly the high utilized process you will see at the top. The first column is the process ID, who is using it, the virtualization, reservation, shared, CPU memory, time, command, and it has a lot of information as well. Then we'll go into the next command, which is free. Free is specifically for memory utilization. You could also do free minus m for if you wanted to see in megabytes. So this will tell you how much memory you have total, how much used, how much free shared, how much is in buffer, and how much is available to be used by the other processes, yes, other scripts or other programs. Okay, now next one we have list memory, lsmem. This is tell you exactly about the memory block size, total online memory that we have available to the system. It is 1 gig total offline memory that is sitting that we are not using, which is 0. We don't have any, so this is going to tell you about your memory as well. Same thing pretty much when you do proc memory info, proc mem info. This is going to tell you exactly what is going on in the system right now. Total memory, free memory, memory available. It has a bunch of information about your memory, and each and how memory is allocated to every process, every pages in your system. So you have to read through it, every one of them. If you do not, if you really wanted to know exactly what each of them means, if I start explaining them, it's going to take me forever. So I would recommend you could just go to Google and type proc memory info, and it will give you a lot of information about mem info. Then vmstat, which is the virtual memory status. This is telling you about your swap space. Swap is pretty much as the same as a virtual memory, how much it has been assigned, well, how much is it free, how much is it in buffer. This would also tell you if you have memory. So if you are running free minus m, and you see the total is 991 and used is 991, nothing is used, then the next thing you have to find out is whether you have the same issue with your swap or virtual machine, virtual memory as well. By the way, free can also give you both as well, the regular memory and swap memory as well. So check the memory status. Make sure the memory is not used. If it is used, then you actually have to assign more memory to this machine, because it is using up a lot of processes. If you run top again, and if you see a lot of processes here and that are using this column right here, this column is used up a lot of memory by a lot of different processes, then you actually have to add more memory. Or you could also use a new command that I'm going to show you, which is pmap. So right here, if you notice, the top command has a process ID 6610. So if I do open up another session, and I type pmap and put in the process ID, then it is telling me this is the total process that is being used by the top command, that are the top process that I'm running. So just that specific information about the pmap. You could also find out about the other process if you want to know, like let's say process ID 1. This one actually give you the process information, the memory information of one particular process. Instead of going around and finding out every process, you could check it over here. Okay, so next one is DMID code. DMID code. This is going to give you a lot of information about your hardware, what is inside of your computer. So when you run this, and if you notice you have an issue with the CPU or memory, and you have to actually call the vendor, and the vendor asks you some information about, give me the information about the CPU serial number or memory serial number, or what's the size, or what's the release, or what's the version information, you will find all the information right here. As you can see, the manufacturer information, the product name. The chassis information says manufacturer is Oracle Corporation, so you know who to call when you are trying to open up a case, and with who. So if you do not know which server that you are on, this is the DMID code, will tell you whether it's HP, Oracle machine, Spark machine. Sorry, not Sparks, they have different ones. Like any other hardware, like Dell or any other hardware that run 64-bit operating systems. Okay, then LSCPU, which is kind of similar to LSMEM. It gives you the information about your CPU architecture. CPU architecture is x86 64-bit. It actually supports 32-bit and 64-bit models. The byte size CPU is 1. Any socket, any core per socket. The vendor, CPU family, model name, Intel, CPU megahertz. Everything that you need to know about CPU can also be found in LSCPU. Okay, next one is proc CPU, which is again similar to list CPU, proc CPU info. If you notice, pretty much the same as the other one, but probably it is rearranged, but it gives you similar information to what you would get with LSCPU. Okay, let's clear the screen. So you have find out so many things about CPU, you know your memory information, your disk information. Now moving on to the disk status. You know the disk, when you run df-h, you see that the disk usage is good, and it's actually 59%. So there isn't a disk in terms of disk capacity issue, but maybe the disk input output disk itself is running in a degraded mode. So for that to find out, you have to run IOStat, meaning input output statistics minus y with 5. I always use that because I kind of used to it. I'll say that this way. There are many other options that you could use with IOStat as well. I would say there are many options with every command that I'm showing you. So the best way is that you run man on every command and find out every options that is available to you. Anyway, let's run IOStat minus y with every 5 seconds. Now this is actually going to the disk, and it's going to ask this, give me your statistics every 5 minutes, every 5 seconds. And here it's telling you your disks. You have two disks, SDA, SDB, and it's read, kilobyte written, how much it is reading, how much it is writing. So by looking at my system is running very efficient, because it's pretty much 0.0. Nothing is I don't run any like production type of application on my system, so that's why you see that everything is 0. But if you are running, you will see how it is going through, how much it is KB reading, how much it is writing, how much it is transferring per second. So all that information will show up here. If you see the number very high, it means either you are, of course, writing so much or reading so much, or it's just your disk is simply having some issues reading or writing, or actually queuing up the entire transactions. So this is about IOStat. Now let's get into networking part. Now you notice you confirmed nothing is wrong with the disk. Everything looks good at the processor. Everything looks good on the memory side. Now let's look at the networking. If your programs are actually involved into transferring or actually receiving, you would have to check the networking. So first command that we will run is TCP dump. It's TCP. Every protocol that goes in and out is mostly on TCP. So with -i option, it's interface. First you need to find out what interface you're going to run TCP dump on. So for that you have to run ifconfig, and you notice my interface is ENP0S3. So I'm going to run on my TCP dump -i ENPS03, and when I run that ENP, wrong interface, spelled wrong. Okay, now you see it is going so fast because I am in my PC where I'm running my machine, or where I'm actually showing you this whole lecture. It is communicating to this virtual machine. That is why it's going back and forth. So if I just close this or Control C out of it, and open up another window. By the way, you have to be root to run most of these commands, so always log in root. Now if I try to do ping, let's say Google, www.google.com, it is pinging, but now as it's pinging, I could actually check this traffic on my TCP dump. So let's just grep for, let's say, Google. So as it going down, no, actually, it is actually not going to Google. It's actually going to the IP address. So TCP dump actually does not is not going to give you Google. It's actually going to give you the IP address. So let me grab for 162.243.10.151. And there you go. See, it's telling me my machine, which name is my first Linux VM, is going. It's to the Google with the protocol ICMP. Anytime you ping a machine, that protocol is known as ICMP. And so this machine, my machine, is using ICMP protocol and pinging this machine, which is Google. The protocol is listed, echo request, and again, this machine, which is Google, coming back to my machine and acknowledging the traffic. It's getting reply. So I am, look at this very carefully. This is my machine going to Google with this protocol and requesting to send the sequence, the length of 64 bytes right here, sequence, time, ICMP. That's what it's telling you. So then when it goes there, the Google is coming back to me and say, hey, I got it. You are the one who's pinging me, and I'm replying back to you and telling you, yes, I'm alive. I'm available. So it's just a simple way of doing TCP dump. If you are trying to troubleshoot an issue where your machine is talking to a database server, then I would say put that database server IP address or use the protocol in the TCP dump. There are different options to use a protocol specifically for that. For the port, sorry, not the protocol, I meant to say the port. If you are going to let's say 192.168.1.13, and that is your database server, and that is using a protocol, let's say 2049, no, sorry, the database protocol is sorry, the port number that is used on database is, anyway, I forgot, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Is so you could actually specify that port number to listen whether this is listening on that port number or not. So TCP dump is a very long kind of discussion that I could go into, but I want you to try it on, and this will give you a lot of information when you're troubleshooting traffic issues. Next one is LSOF, list open files with -i, -p, and -n. This will give you what is open, what is listening. So let's say if my machine, this is the one, is actually running a service, let's say SSH, and I cannot connect from this machine to this machine using SSH, then I will come into this machine, I'll run that command, and I will grep for 22. And as you could see right here, this will list all the established connection and also listening connection. Right here it says SSH is listening on port 22. So I could tell, hey, my machine is listening. I have no problem. It's something is with your machine that's not listening. Or maybe you have it listening, maybe my machine is listening, and probably I have a firewall that is blocking any traffic coming from this machine to my machine. So I have to check firewall as well. Okay, then the next one I have is netstat -plnt. This is pretty much give me the same information that I just typed in a different way. So this is another command. Another thing that I was going to talk to you about is netstat is now deprecated, and the newer command that is used is ss, which stands for socket. You could use the same options to list all your ports that are open or listening. You could also do man on ss, and you will find another utility to investigate sockets that are open. Socket is something that runs on your computer, which actually attaches the port number and opens up every time a traffic comes in on that port or anything that comes in and trying to knock on the door that has 22 label on it. The last one is about check networking, and I have this command iftop, and as I said earlier, iftop is a utility that does not come with your Linux operating system. You have to install that, and to install that you have to run the command yum install apple release and then yum install iftop. I have already installed this command in my system, so I'll run it iftop. And you will see right here, this is telling me about the transfer that is going from to this machine and from this machine to any other place. So if I'm using FTP to transfer some files from one machine to another, or I'm using protocols like NFS or SCP protocol, every time you use them, every time you run those commands, and if you wanted to know how much bandwidth is used and how much megabyte or kilobyte per second is being transferred, this command is amazing. It will give you all that information from to the rate and the in kilobyte, how much it has transferred, how much is remaining, and a whole bunch of information. If you want to learn more about it, I think when you install it, it actually also installed the man pages, I believe. Yes, it did. And it says display bandwidth usage on an interface by host. So use that command. If you do not have it, I would highly recommend you to install it with the instruction I have given you. Next one is check system uptime. See if your system has been rebooted recently. The time is there with the system load average. Moving on, check the logs. All the logs are in var logs. And when you do ls-l, ltr, whichever the option you prefer, and the best log which have all the information, or the log that I always look for, is messages. I could always do tail -100, show me last 100 lines of messages, and I could easily grep for error. There's no error, so I could just take out entire tail, just cat it, and grep for errors. And here I will see if there are any errors that have been reported that might help me find the issue. I would also say look for, always put -i, by the way. I would also say put warning. I would also say put error. I will say put fail, as in failure. You'll find so many information that could help you troubleshoot the issue. Check the hardware status by logging into the system console. You could do that by logging in. If it's HP, go into ILO, open up a browser, put in the ILO IP, and you will see the logs in there. If it's Dell, put in the iDrag, and if it's other system, every system does have console access. Find that out and log in and find that hardware information or hardware message. The last one are other tools. There are other tools that are available to you. You have to download them as well, just like I downloaded iftop. These other tools are also helpful. Some of them like H2 IOTop. IOTop is helpful, which works the same way for disks as IOStat. So these are some of the tools. I want you to actually go through them one by one. Read about them. They will definitely help you if you are pursuing system administration type of job or Linux related job or any type of computer related job. You will be using these type of commands quite often.